When we see a pair of football boots, one of the first things we do is associate that boot to a certain player. Whether it's Cristiano Ronaldo with the Mercurial or Lionel Messi with the Adidas X. Brands pour millions and millions into marketing and ad campaigns to get this player association into our heads. So much so that it sometimes feel like these boots are an extension of these players' identity and by extension as well, the brand. So when a player changes the brand of their football boots, it can sometimes be a bit of a shock to the system. And that's why in this video we're going to look at the top 10 most shocking football boot deals. Number 10. Ibrahimovic to Adidas. Zlatan joining Adidas probably raised a few eyebrows. Ibrahimovic had been a long-time wearer of Nike football boots, wearing the Nike Mercurial and the Hypervenom Silo, as well as being used in several iconic ad campaigns such as the Joga Bonito in 2006, as well as the 2014 Brazil World Cup campaign ads. So seeing him step from Manchester United in a pair of Adidas X 16.1s was pretty much a shock to the system for a lot of people. Zlatan has seemed to have an up and down relationship with Nike, as he's actually since then gone back to the brand. But it was still quite strange seeing one of their most iconic players wearing another brand's football boots. At number 9, we have Luis Suarez to Puma. Prior to joining Puma, Luis Suarez had been a long-time wearer of Adidas football boots, wearing the Adidas X as well as the Adidas F50 series. Even promoted Adidas' first ever prominent football boot in 2013-2014 season against Manchester United at Old Trafford. Luis Suarez is widely regarded as probably the best striker of his generation, and for a lot of people the best striker of all time. But to see Adidas let a player like that go to a rival brand is quite strange. However, Luis Suarez is not the one to hide away from controversy, so that probably might have been why Adidas chose not to renew his contract. Either way, it's quite weird to see Suarez in another pair of football boots. He joined Puma in 2018 wearing their Puma Future Silo. He even received a signature colorway for achieving 500 career goals. At number 8, we have Lionel Messi from Nike to Adidas. In the summer of 2006, just before the World Cup, Lionel Messi signed with the German brand. And this one wasn't that shocking at the time, as back then Lionel Messi was only an up-and-coming footballer, so you can almost forgive Nike for almost, like I say, disregarding him at the time. But in hindsight, I'm pretty sure Nike are kicking themselves. They could have had Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi wearing their products. In fact, it's actually quite strange that Nike actually let him go, because back then he was already being dubbed the next Maradona. But Nike's roster at the time was pretty much stacked, as you can see from the Joga Bonito adverts at the time. So they probably didn't mind letting him go in that regard. But before switching to Adidas, Messi had won all the different silos Nike had available. He had won the Mercurial, he had won the Total 90, and he had also won the Tiempo. And since joining Adidas, the rest is history. He's won the F50, he's won his own silo, he's won the Nemesis, and he's currently wearing the X, as well as receiving several signature colorways and being used in several promotional campaigns. At number 7, we have Iniesta to Asics. Iniesta is another player who spent most of his career playing in Nike football boots, wearing the Total 90 silo, as well as the Nike CTR 360 and of course the Nike Magista series. After leaving Barcelona in 2018, Nike probably felt that he was out of the spotlight, so didn't renew his contract. So since joining FC Kobe, he's been wearing Asics, and he's moved on to another brand as well. Iniesta, for those who don't know, has even started his own kind of football boot company called Capitan, which he sells traditional football boots inspired by the style of the 1980s. At number 6, we have Paul Pogba to Adidas. And when Pogba joined Adidas from Nike in 2016, it was one of the probably most confusing things for a lot of people, for two main reasons. So number 1, Pogba was clearly becoming one of the best midfielders in the world at the time. He had helped Juventus to another Scudetto and also helped them to another Champions League final. Number 2, he had that marketability X factor. He had the unique look, the flary, exciting playing style, and the coolness. So based on those factors, it was quite strange to see Nike let him go. Back then, Pogba swapped the Magista for the Adidas Ace, and later on the Predator silo, in which he has his own signature colorways and has been used to promote exclusive releases. At number 5, we have Sergio Ramos to Mizuno. After spending most of his playing career wearing Nike football boots, Sergio Ramos signed with Mizuno in 2021. Ramos had started off the Total 90 silo before switching to the Nike Tiempo in 2012. And even became the face of the silo for many, many years. Ramos has the unique achievement of being one of the very few defenders that Nike have given a signature football boot to. So to see him receive that special treatment and to be tossed aside a few years later was quite surprising. What made Ramos leaving Nike so strange was the fact that Nike and Ramos was almost a perfect match. Marketing defenders when it comes to football boots can be very hard, because defending is usually seen as the most unglamorous, ugly part of football. So when it comes to marketing defending, it comes with moments kind of thing. So I'm talking overhead kick clearances, last ditch tackles. If you could personify someone playing a Nike advert as a defender, it would be Sergio Ramos. So to see almost the perfect archetype for marketing go to another brand was quite strange for me. And since joining the Japanese brand, Ramos has won the Mizuno Neo Morelia and the Mizuno Alpha. At 4, we have Fabregas to Puma. Shortly after joining Barcelona in 2011, Fabregas signed to Puma from Nike. Fabregas was one of the lead marketing faces for the Tiempo for many, many years, and was also used to launch the Nike CTR 360 silo back in 2009. He even had his own little promotional series along with it as well. It was called the Cesc Fabregas Show, where he did a lot of stunts, such as like, I think he was doing kick-ups with the ball on fire or something like that. And I think he was wearing a suit, but something like that. So obviously Nike were very invested in Fabregas at the time. And since he was like pretty much one of the lead faces, or you could say he was the face of the Nike CTR at the time when it launched, you always get that player association. So if someone didn't know what the CTR was called, for example, they'd see it on the shelves and say, oh, that's Fabregas's boot. Especially if you're someone who grew up in the UK, for example. So for Nike to let him go to Puma after all of that could have been quite detrimental to their marketing and ad campaigns. But they had Iniesta, so I guess it wasn't too bad. Even to this day, Fabregas is still with Puma, and along the way, he's even got some of his own signature colorways. Now, for those who don't know, maybe you're too young, that's perfectly fine. Thierry Henry is probably one of the most culturally influential footballers of all time. He was one of those players that everyone wants to be like. He had that kind of signature look. Gloves, the socks over the knee, the shirt tucked in, and of course the Mercurial Vapor. Now, that's just not me saying that as an Arsenal fan or the t-shirt I'm wearing, but this is a sentiment shared by even professional footballers.
You made something. You brought something out in football. Maybe you don't even know, but maybe you know. The socks over the knees. Okay? That's something. And the Mercurial Vapor.
Then when you saw the Nike Mercurial, Thierry Henry is probably one of the first players that came to your head when you saw them, other than Ronaldo. So it was a great shock to see him walk out in 2006 wearing Reebok of all brands. For a lot of people, they'd see that as a downgrade, as Reebok doesn't have the same prestige as Nike in the public eye. However, financially, I'm pretty sure it was not a downgrade. At number 2, we have Mesut Özil to Adidas. Mesut Özil joining Adidas caused quite a stir and even ended up going to court. Mesut Özil had been aware of Nike Mercurial even in his Werder Bremen days. However, ahead of a preseason in 2012, he rocked up wearing a pair of Adidas Predator LZs, which had just been released. Although his contract with Nike had ended, there's this kind of 6-month grace period where he has to wear either Nike boots or unbranded boots, so Nike have the chance to kind of match any offer that's made by a rival brand. And Özil breached that pretty much. So of course Nike took him to court over it. Özil claimed that he was just trying out the boots, and of course the court did not believe that. So he was ordered to wear either unbranded boots, so that's when you see players wear whited out boots or blacked out boots. But oddly enough, he wore a pair of Nike Mercurial Vapor 8s for the remainder of the season. But the following season, he officially joined Adidas and became the face Adidas Predator LZ at the time, and then he went on to wear Adidas 8s and then back to the Predator again. And finally, number 1, Neymar to Puma. Neymar had been contracted with Nike since the age of 13. Neymar had long been identified as a future of not just only Brazilian football, but the football world in general. And in Neymar, it represented everything that Nike or any brand ever would want in a footballer when it came to marketing. Exciting, flamboyant style of play, unique look, and incredibly marketable. Neymar was arguably as marketable as Messi and Ronaldo while he was still playing in Brazil. Neymar and Nike seemed like a match made in heaven. He had started his career with Nike wearing the Nike Mercurial before moving on to the Nike Hypervenom silo, as well as being used to promote exclusive releases like the Nike Green Speed. Along the way, also receiving loads of signature colorways. However, in 2020, the relationship between the player and the brand broke down, thus resulting in the biggest full boot deal that we had ever seen at the time, where he signed to Puma for a reported £23 million per year. And since joining Puma, they pretty much rolled out the red carpet for him. He's received signature boot after signature boot, pretty much being the face of Puma football, as well as being the headline act for the Puma Future Z line.